Today's video is going to be this beautiful medallion kind of a pendant in earthy brown and a tangerine orange color. So if you see, this is a slab of clay that's been smoothened out, and using a cookie cutter, I'm just cutting out the round shape. The slab that was earlier was 0.6 centimeters in thickness, and this current one is 0.25 centimeters in thickness. This is for the stud. I'm using a cookie cutter and cutting out the round shape for the pair of studs. Smoothing each of them individually. I'm lining a smaller cookie cutter. This is basically to get concentric circles. I just lined it with a little bit of oil so that it comes out more smoothly. So, if you see, this is why a set of concentric circle cookie cutters would probably help to get dimensions or designs like these. The earlier design was basically done with a needle tool, and currently I'm using parts of a pen in order to get that particular design. Now I'm back again with a needle tool. This is a really easy design, something that you even if you are just a beginner, you will still be able to do this with ease. It's just that for designs like these, you might want to make sure that all of these lines are equidistant, because that does make a difference to how the entire piece looks overall. I'm just redoing some of the circles so that the lines, or rather the circles, are a little more defined. I'm just dotting the circles now. I'm trying to replicate the same design onto the earring as well, just the borders. Using a nozzle, just doing small dots. Now the Nichrome wire U-pins that I'm using for this particular pendant are all 24, gauge 24. So if you see, I have everything done here. Once this particular set dries, it's fired in an electric kiln. Now that you see, the piece is basically fired, the pendant as well as the earrings, and I've also kept a few round beads, to be precise, 18 round beads. I've also laid out the paints that I'm going to be using, as well as the brushes. So it's antique gold, burnt umber, and orange. With regard to the brushes, I'm going to be using my liner brush and any round tip broad bristle brush. Obviously the broad bristle is going to be for the base coat. Now if you see, I have the colors laid out in the palette, and I'm going to be mixing the orange and the burnt umber to get a slightly more earthier tone. I'm diluting it with a couple of drops of water and applying an even coat all over the pendant as well as the stud. Just make sure all of that paint kind of goes through all those designs and all those carvings. Now I'm going to be painting the small round beads. Once again, if you are allergic to paints in this manner, please use a brush and paint them individually rather than doing it this way. And if you are doing it in this manner, please wash your hands immediately so that the paint doesn't dry on your hands. Using a liner brush, I am drawing this particular drawing. Basically, it's a simple line drawing of a Ganesha, Lord Ganesha. Basically, it's a really easy way to draw. Like I said, even if you are a beginner, this is something which is easy for you to do. So this drawing too is going to be, it's really easy to do. If you see, that's it. That's pretty much it. It's a classic example of a line drawing that's done. Highlighting the design, the entire piece in the center with gold. Now for all of these, everything in fact done on the inside, I'm going to be using just my liner brush. think a liner brush definitely goes a long way with regard to adding finer details to everything. If you see, the orange is also diluted, but it is not diluted as much as say how much the brown was. That's because if the paint, or rather if orange is heavily diluted, what might happen is it might actually seep into the carving, and I don't want that. So if you do not have a liner brush, you can always use a 000 round tip soft bristle brush. I'm replicating obviously the Ganesha design on the earring, or rather on the stud as well. Please remember to do the opposite directions, because I think it's a common mistake a lot of times when you're working on earrings. You probably forget about that. So if you see, the paint has completely dried, and now it's obviously time to varnish the entire piece. This is the product I use. Give it a good shake and transfer a little bit of the contents into a bowl or a container. And then using a soft bristle brush, apply a generous quantity on the pendant as well as the stud. I usually tend to cover them in parts, basically do the back or do the front, let it dry, then do the sides and back and let it dry. You're probably wondering, why is there a sponge over there in the corner? I'll get to that. So these are a couple of toothpicks. I recently had somebody who had asked me about painting the smaller beads, or painting any beads individually, or rather varnishing them individually. So this is a good way. It's a pretty common technique. I think a lot of you must have already seen this. I don't have a piece of thermocol, which is why I'm using a sponge. But if you have a piece of thermocol sheet lying around, use that instead. Just hook it on. Just put the bead on the tip and varnish them, because I think what I usually do with the smaller ones is I tend to do them after they're assembled, but in this case they're not that many. Precisely, there are about 18 beads, and this is also a pretty easy way to varnish them. If you see, this is how I've kind of laid it all out. So now this is basically a head pin. That's a gold bead, rather a gold metal bead. Now I'm using a Rudraksh bead over here, an actual Rudraksh bead over here, but I have uploaded videos on how you can make Rudraksh bead as well as paint them so that it looks more authentic. So I'll leave the links to those videos in the description box. So that also actually is a very good way to assemble the piece. So I'm just using this to basically embellish the bottom half of the pendant. So there are 9, if you see. Doesn't that look really nice? I managed to get this orange color dory and this brown color thread bead, and I've also inserted the jump rings inside. And we can assemble this now. I use a set of pliers in order to make sure that the jump ring is aligned. Now for the studs, this is the stud this is the product I use, and I apply a little bit of the quantity on the stud post, and then I stick it and I leave it to dry for about 3 full days before use. And if you see, this piece is completely ready. I really hoped you all enjoyed watching this video. Please do let me know what you think of it in the comments, and as always I'll get back to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for watching.